Welcome back. Today we are looking at slope-intercept form. So now that you know what slope is, we can look at how to write it into an equation. So if you remember from last year, we can write the equation of a straight line in the form of y equals mx plus b. This is what we call slope-intercept form. The reason it's called slope-intercept form is because m represents your slope, b represents the y-intercept. Okay, and then y and x are just your variables. So y and x don't change. M and b are what we call parameters. Those are just constant numbers. So we plug numbers in for those. Y and x are our two variables that we're using. Okay, so m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So example 1, pretty simple. It just says state the slope and the y-intercept. So this is already in slope-intercept form because our y is on one side by itself here. Okay, if y is by itself, then it's in y equals mx plus b. Okay, here's our x, so that means m is going to be whatever is being multiplied to the x, which is 2/3. So that's our slope, that's a 3. And then b is going to be our y-intercept, which is 4. So 4 is right here. But actually, it's a minus 4, so that actually needs to be negative 4. So slope is 2/3, y-intercept, or b, is negative 4. Okay, so take a second, you can pause the video and try these 3 problems. You can just do them in your head probably. And I'm moving on. Okay, now it's giving us the slope and the y-intercept, and it wants us to write the equation. And we know it's a straight line, so we can write in y equals mx plus b. Okay, so again, my y stays the same. Okay, don't put negative 4 in for y because it says y-intercept. Remember, y-intercept is actually the b. So y equals m. M is going to be our slope, which is slope of negative 3. So negative 3, x is going to stay, plus b, b is negative 4. So I can either do a plus negative 4, or I can just put minus 4. Okay, and now it is in slope-intercept form. Simple enough. Okay, next. Okay, 1 second. My phone always starts ringing when I'm trying to make a video. Anyway, okay, so number 3, write an equation from the graph. So if you look at your graph, here's your y-axis, here's your x-axis, and we have this blue line here. So the first thing you want to do when you have a graph is you want to find the y-intercept. This is where it crosses the y-axis. So this blue line crosses the y-axis right here. I can make a circle there. Okay, and that's at 1, 2, 3, 4, positive 4. So we know that b, our y-intercept, is positive 4. Now you need to find the slope. So to find the slope, I can use my y-intercept point, but I need to pick another point on the line. So we can just use this one because it crosses at that nice intersection at 2, 3. So to get from our y-intercept to the next point, we need to go down 1 and right 2. Okay, so remember, slope is rise over run. So this is going to be negative because my line goes down. It's going down from left to right. Okay, so it's going to be a negative in the front. And then my rise is going to be 1. Run is going to be 2. So you can write it like this. Or you can do negative 1 over 2. Or you can even do 1 over negative 2. Doesn't matter. Or you can just leave the negative in the front like that. And now we just write the equation. Y equals m, which is negative 1/2, x, oops, that's an x, plus b, which is 4. Okay, that is our equation. Okay, so find the y-intercept first, then use 2 points to find the slope. Alright. Same one here on D, you're just writing the equation of this line. And then yeah, E is just giving you the slope and the y-intercept. So go ahead and you can try these. Oops. Okay, 4 and 5. Okay, so now we got this word problem. So it says student council is selling t-shirts during Spirit Week. It costs $20 for the design and $5 to print each shirt. The cost y to print x shirts is given by y equals 5x plus 20. Graph the equation using the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, should put a graph on here, but it's okay, I can make one. So, my graph, I know that my y-intercept is 20, so I'm probably not going to go by 1s here. I'm just going to go by 5s, and everything is mostly positive because we can't buy negative shirts. So my shirt's down here, this is my x. I'm just going to go by 1s, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the money on this side, I'm going to go by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So that's 30, 20, 10, 5. Okay, now we just need a graph. So we know that our y-intercept is just going to be how much it costs for just the design. So if I were to buy 0 shirts, I would still pay $20 for the design. Obviously, nobody's going to make a design and buy 0 shirts, but that's where our y-intercept is going to start at. So I go to 0, put my point here. Come on. Okay, that's my y-intercept. And then I use my $5 for each shirt to find my next point. So if I buy 1 shirt, it's going to cost $5 plus the $20. So that's going to be 25. This is also your slope, so you can think of that as going up 5 and over 1. So up 5, which is going to get us to 25 here, and over 1. So 1 shirt's going to cost, come on, $25. If I buy 2 shirts, that just goes up $5 more. So 2 shirts is going to be $30. So this is 1 shirt, 2 shirts, 3 shirts, and then it just goes up in a straight line from there. So it looks something like that. Okay, and that is your line. So you start with the y-intercept, then use the slope to get to the next point. And you can keep using the slope to keep finding more and more points. The more you find, the easier it's going to be to draw your line. Okay, and then 5, it says interpret the slope and the y-intercept. So when it says interpret, that means it wants you to write it out what each one of them means in the context of the problem. So the slope is 5 here. So that just means that that's how much it's changing by. So it's cost $5 to print each additional shirt. So 1 more shirt costs $5 more. Okay, so that's a rate of change. So whenever it's talking about slope, that's what it's asking. How much does the y increase when the x goes up by 1, basically. And then your y-intercept, I kind of said this before, but y-intercept is your initial amount. So if you were to buy 0 shirts, it would cost $20 for the design. Okay, so that's what it means by interpret. Kind of just write it out in words in the context of the problem. Okay. Next. A taxi fare y can be described or determined by the equation y equals 0.50x plus 3.5, where x is the number of miles traveled. So I want you to graph the equation and interpret the slope. Okay, so here your y-intercept is 350, and your slope is 0.5. Okay, so if you want to pause this and try it, go for that. Okay. Hopefully you've tried it by now. I'm not going to graph it, but I will do G with you. So G says interpret the slope and the y-intercept. So our slope is going to be this 0.50 here. So that's saying how much is your x changing, or how much does your y change when x goes up by 1. So if you write out your slope, you can always put your slope over 1. So 0.50 over 1. Okay, and our y goes on top. Y is talking about the fare, how much it costs, basically. So this is going to be dollars up here, and the 1 is to the x, because it's rise over run, so y over x. X is talking about miles. Okay, so interpreting your slope would just say that it costs 50 cents per additional mile. So for each additional mile, the fare goes up 50 cents. That's how you would interpret the slope. Okay, now the y-intercept, this 350, this is just talking about the fare. So that means when you travel 0 miles, it costs you $3.50. Obviously, you're not taking a taxi for 0 miles, but what that means is as soon as you get into that taxi, you're charged $3.50 automatically. Okay, That's how much you start at, and then it goes up 50 cents per mile from there. So if you go, I don't know, 1 block, you're still going to be paying over $3.50. Okay, so $3.50 to get in the car, 0 miles, and then 50 cents per mile after that. All right. And then the last one, discuss. So we're going to discuss how does the y-intercept appear in a table, an equation, and a graph. So, wait, did this change? Hold on. Okay, so I don't know if you've seen this for a minute or if it just popped up, but how does your y-intercept appear in all 3 of these representations, a table, a graph, and an equation? So obviously the graph, when it's on the graph, we've done that already. Why is this taking so long? Okay, well it's not letting me draw for some reason. But when you're looking at a graph, the y-intercept just appears where the line crosses the y-axis. So that's where your y-intercept is going to be. In an equation, that's going to be the b. Okay, y equals mx plus b. Your y-intercept is the constant term, is what we call that, because there's no variable attached to it. So that's going to be the b. And then in a table, okay, let's see if it'll let me draw now. But a table, so if we have an x and a y table like this, and say we have -1, I'm just going to throw out some numbers here, 5, 0, 4, 1, 3, 2, 2, and so on. Your y-intercept is going to be when the x value is 0. Okay, so your y-intercept in this table appears when x is 0, and that's the same with any table. So that's going to be this point right here. So this is telling us that b is going to be 4. Okay, so that would be our y-intercept. And then to find the slope, you just figure out the change. So this goes down 1, this one goes up 1. This goes down 1, this one goes up 1. Okay, so your slope would then be y over x, -1 over 1, which just comes out of -1. Okay, so in a table, your y-intercept is always when x is 0. If it doesn't have a 0 there, then you need to use the pattern to go back and find what y would be when x is 0, and that's your y-intercept. Alright, that's it for this one.